All right, guys, I think it's hightail time to break down how I go about sizing all my parts for costume. For props, it's, like the Rocketeer pack back here. It's a 1-to-1. You just print it, right? But you want to know how to get the sizing of your helmets perfectly fit, perfectly snug for you, or, if you're making it for somebody else, for that other person. So stay tuned, guys. This is going to be a more in-depth, all computer-based video. So stay tuned, buckle in. And remember, guys, I'm Chris. This is Making Nerdy, and we're going to make some stuff. So we're going to dive right into this. There's going to be a few things we're going to have to go over. There's a few programs you have to bounce back and forth on. There's going to be one program you're going to have to drop a few wooden nickels on, all right? It's part of the process. Listen, it's $30. The program is called Armorsmith, and that's the program I use for all the sizing for my armor, for my helmets, for everything else. Even a lot of times the props, if I want to get it to more like my size as opposed to like real world, because sometimes some of these swords, like Buster Blade and all those bigger swords are just huge, and you're like, well, I want something that's my size, not like a giant size. So you can go ahead and drop those files into Armorsmith and then size everything. So we're going to go step by step about getting the files, uploading the files, and then separating everything else. So let's dive into it. All right. So the first thing we're going to do is we got Meshmixer over here. We got this is the opening screen. When you go to open, you're going to head here and hit import. So the first thing we're going to do is we're actually going to find a file to use. So we're going to use the Blue Beetle as for example. So right now, these are the main these files here. I got these all from Do3D, and they're all come as separate files. So when you go ahead and stretch them, the lot of problem is if you went to stretch them all separately, you're going to have an issue with them fitting. So what you go ahead and do is you go to Meshmixer, and if you drop them all, most 3D modelers have it so they set up when you drop it into a 3D program, all the files wind up merging together where they're supposed to be in their real world spaces. So thankfully Do3 has that situation. If you get your files from Thingiverse or some other places like Cults, it's kind of a 50-50, good luck. It's kind of a crapshoot. So Do3 or any of those bigger websites that make 3D files for cosplay and prop making, they're all set up. So you go ahead and drop those in. Depending on how much RAM your computer has, the faster this will go. The less RAM, you're going to be a little bit slower. And make sure that if you're doing 3D modeling or if you're doing 3D printing, make sure you have hefty RAM on your computer because it will take forever. Might as well just go grab a snack, grab a coffee, come back. Oh, there we go. All right. So here is the model. Here's all the parts, and as you see in the object browser. If you don't see this little object browser, you can always click over here to view up top, and you'll see this says hide object browser. It will say view object browser if it's this is not up, but normally it'll pop up right away. So now you have 3D model here. So if you click on each part, you'll see it highlight over here. You can either pick the file by the part by clicking it on the screen, or you can go here and then click it on the list and see where everything is. What we want to do for right now for us is we're going to merge everything together. So if I went to go move apart, it would just move separately. So, but we want everything together. So what we're going to do is hit the top here, hit shift. What you'll see here is everything going to be all highlighted the same color. And then you have this little menu pop up over here. It says combine, create pivot, align, transform, duplicate. So for our purpose right now, we're going to hit combine. But really quick, before we jump that, instead of doing that, you can also hit the object in the screen, the model, hold down shift, and then select those individual parts. So if you're not sure if this wasn't labeled correctly and you're like 1, 2, 3, like what part is which, say you only wanted to do is these parts, like the face. So if you just wanted the face parts to print and you just wanted this part to combine. So now if you're printing this, they will all be printed separately. But say your printer can handle all those parts at one shot and you want to print it all at one shot, you can have all those selected, the ones you want, hit combine, and then you would export that one file. But for right now, we're going to do it all together. So we're going to do back here to the top, to the bottom, hold down shift, and then everything's highlighted. You're gonna go ahead and hit combine. Let that process for a second. So now you have all the parts merged. Now you only have one item here, one file here, and you're gonna see all these different colors. The colors, those are just different faces. It's not a big deal. Don't have to worry about the different colors for this part. So once you have this, you go ahead and here export. Go here and hit export on the left-hand side. So now you have all the parts combined to one size. And so now you can size everything on one shot. So you can do one of two things. We can take it the easy way right here, and you can just go ahead and transform. And you have a little menu option over here pop up. And you can just uniformly scale it up as is. So say you just want, 150%. So over here, you're going to scale. So this is by point, okay? So don't go 110, because then that'll be, 1,000%. So you're gonna do, this is 1, and then say you want 110% on this mask, so you can just put 0.1, and then make sure this is also uniformly scaling, make sure that's checked, and then just press enter. And now you see everything's changed, the sizing has changed, and now your helmet is 110% scaled. Alternatively, if you want to go to smaller, so say you want to go 90% scale, so then you hit 0.9, hit enter, and then boom, there it drops down. So maybe you're making a file for your kid, or any other small person. You have that, you can scale that smaller. So if you want to go ahead and size it perfectly for your head, we're going to take it to the next step. So what we're going to do is we're going to put this back to 1% or 100%. Put that to 1, right? Put that like that. And say, well, I want it, my head's, bulbous, or my head's longer and stuff like that. So if you go ahead and just size it uniformly, you may have it wider on the side or not enough on the top. So what we're going to do is go ahead and drop this into the next program, which is Armorsmith. So first we're going to do is have that. Okay, so we're going to cancel out of there. That's 100% scale. And then we're going to go ahead, hit export. And then you would go ahead and label accordingly. As you see, I already have ones here. So it's combined Blue Beetle. Once we have it all sized, alternatively, we'll have one file that says size Blue Beetle. All right. So hit that, hit save. And then we're going to go over into the next program as Armorsmith. All right, guys, so here we are in Armorsmith. This is a program I use constantly. This is a program I use for all my sizing to get everything correctly. In future videos, you'll probably see like a little eye on top of the video. Just click on the eye. If you need a refresher on how to use the program, just click on that and we'll go in here. But we're going to do a brief overview. We're not going to talk too much about the setting up the avatar right now. That'll be for another video. A little deep dive. But as far as sizing everything, this is what this video is about. So right now you see you have the file. You would import the file from wherever you have it saved. Here's the image of the file. And then you're going to go hit attach. And it's going to show you little points here. You don't want to put it on your elbow because that's weird. Stick it on your head over here. And then it is there. You're going to come up here, drag in, scroll in, and you're going to see how my nose and everything sticks out. I have a big head, if you haven't noticed, and that's not just the hair. So you have here, as my nose is sticking out, and this is a 100%, so obviously this is not going to fit. And then what you can do is here to help to see this a little better, you can go down here on the right-hand side, you can see occupancy right here. You change this and just drop it down to half. So that's 50%. And now you can see inside my head, you can see through the file, you can see all the rivets, the holes here for the magnets and everything. So what we're going to do is, and then you can also change the color. See, now I have that green. That was for another video I was shooting. You go down here to the color, you have that image on, and just change this to show you a different color. So let's see. Nope, that's pretty much the same thing as color there. Blue, let's take this up to 300. Can you do 300? All right, so now we got a purple and green. We got like the Incredible Hulk's color scheme here. All right. So we got this, you got the file, and so what you're going to do here is you're going to hit your right click. If you're using a Mac, Shift and the right click and the button. I'm not a Mac user, so we'll have to dive into another episode where Chris learns how to use a Mac and show you how to on a Mac. But anyway, I digress. We're gonna go here, right click, and then you're gonna see all these different options here. You're gonna see is scale part. So you have a couple of different options here. You got uniform scale, which is basically changing the size, everything uniformly, like we saw earlier in Meshmixer. Not really something you're gonna use here because this is the real point of using Armorsmith is to kind of warp and twerk and twist your model in different ways that you wouldn't normally do in another program. So right here, you got scale part, uniform part, which is basically the opposite sides of the face of the model. So every model is within a three-dimensional square space. Three-dimensional cube space. A square would be two-dimensional. So yeah, three-dimensional. You got on opposite opposing faces. That would be uniform. That's going to stretch you uniformly. Shrink fit. I've had issues before. It might just be my computer because I probably just don't have enough RAM, like I spoke about earlier. Every time you use shrink fit, it kind of just crashes my computer. So, or at least crashes the program. So I don't really fancy using shrink fit. What I do fancy is using freeform deformation, and that's going to stretch between the corners, the face, the plane here, any kind of line you can pull and push on those lines along with the corners and the face itself. So if you just want to stretch this front part, you can just click on this and you're going to pull that. So we're going to go, and so my two favorite ones are non-uniform and freeform. Sometimes I will start with uniform just to get a base level for a stretch. So let's do that first. We're going to grab this. And then we're going to give it a stretch. Alternatively, as opposed to just pulling here, you can always go here on the bottom left-hand corner. As long as this is uniformly scaled, you can just up it and over here. So this is 110%, 0.19, right? So we've scaled that slightly bigger. So we got slightly bigger there. So what happens is when you scale the whole thing, a lot of this is shifting. So once you have scaled this up a little bit, you're going to go ahead and click on the side, click back on the image, and then we're going to hit T for transform. And then we can go ahead and just shift it down because this might be okay. And then you just kind of look at it around the image. Just move it around. So you see I have plenty of space there. I got some space there. My nose seems a little squished there. So what we're going to do is, now that we have a better understanding of where my head is in the space, I'm going to go ahead, and I think the biggest problem is my ears tend to stick out a little bit. So I always really worry about getting my ears tucked in enough so that way I'm not feeling squished in there. And remember that the part you got to see over here on the side, the part has thickness to it. So you don't want to, just because it looks like it's not touching, you want to double check, measure twice, cut once kind of scenario. So my nose is sticking out there. You see that little spot right there? That's my nose sticking out. So what we're going to do now is we're going to do right click, click on the image, right click, then we're going to go scale part, and then we're going to go to freeform deformation. And then so we're going to slide. Sometimes it's a little glitchy again. Might just be my computer. Be still. All right, there we go. See, now I hovered over here. This face is highlighted. I'm going to click on that, and now an axis has formed over here. So we're going to grab this blue right here, and I'm just going to stretch this part out. So now this is stretched the forward part and has left the back intact. So there we go, guys. And you see my eyes. Click off to the side. As you see, my eyes are right where the eye spots are, the eye sockets are for the mask. So it looks good there. I have enough room for my jaw. If I want, to open and close my mouth to talk, I could probably, adjust this a little bit and tweak it a little bit to go a little higher. So that way it's in there and I don't have any shifting. Also with freeform deformation, mentioned a moment ago, is we can also tweak the corners. So we're going to go back to freeform and you can pick the corner you want. Just be careful on this. Wherever side you move in, you got to try to move this other side, the opposing side, the same amount. Otherwise, you're just going to look cockeyed. So just grab, again, the corner here. So that's that side. And then move in a little bit over here. And off that. And now that looks good. I'll go ahead and you can go ahead and tweak this a little more. I'm going to show you what my full helmet looks like once you finish tweaking all this. Go ahead and slide that over. All right. And with the power of space-time continuum, there is all size. This is the size I use to print for my Blue Beetle helmet. Fits perfectly. I have enough space here in my jaw. I have enough space all around. It's nice and snug. I don't feel clamped. I don't feel squished. And I have plenty of space in there and where it also doesn't move around. So now this is the first part, or the second part. So now to the next part is, how are we going to go ahead and print all this? So now what we're going to do is, because it's all one part, right? So we're going to go ahead, you would export this, rename it, for size. You have your size helmet. I already have it say, so this is a size Blue Beetle. I'm going to go back into Meshmixer. I'm going to hit separate shells. Sorry, guys. Yeah, a little computer issue here. Separate shells, and now you have all the different files, all the different models separated, right? Size Blue Beetle. They're all different parts. So as you see, I have the program that has my printer that I normally use. This all fits on my print bed. If I wanted to, yes, I could go ahead and now print it because it fits on the printer. But because how it is and being able to get into the helmet, because it does narrow, it's not really meant to slide on. It's not like a Mandalorian helmet where you just slide on like a bucket. So it's narrowed at the bottom here. You do want to go ahead and separate this, but there are some parts you maybe want to be able to print together as opposed to having to print multiple different parts. So like the face one is a good example like this with the eye cheeks or eye parts, not the eyes themselves, because that is, you're going to want to go ahead and if you have a resin printer, you can print these in a clear, like a tinted resin over here. Or if you want to go the other route, is get a pair of sunglasses, cut them up to the same size you want and glue them in. That's a good eye. That's a good substitute for your eyes. But if you want to go ahead and just print this whole part, you can go ahead and select the ones you want. You would hit then combine again, and then export, and then you have that ready to go. But as of right now, you can go ahead and select the file you want, select the top, and then you hit export, and then export all this into another folder. It says size top, size jaw, size face, size whatever. However you want to label it. I have it all labeled pretty organized for that. All right, so before we end the video, I want to go ahead and talk about all the other parts, because I mentioned earlier that I size all my parts in here. So what I go ahead is, I have my Hellbat chest plate here, and then we're going to go ahead and attach that to, again, my chest. Oh, where'd it go? Oh, it's back there. Let's move it in the right spot. And there we go. There's the chest plate on my chest. So guys, when you do this, if you have your portions set up correctly on your avatar, trust the avatar. There's been times when I was like, maybe it's a little off, or give it some more room. No, I have the avatar pretty sized to myself. So yep, that's my belly. Go ahead and make sure you size it appropriately to where your chest is and everything. So this is a little bit wide for me. So what I did is, you go ahead and again, scale parts. And we can go ahead and non-uniform. I just want to bring it in. I don't want to bring this far because I have a pretty tall chest. I'm more chesty than leggy. So I'm going to bring this in. You see it's kind of digging into my chest there. Maybe a little bit further out right there. And there we go. So I mentioned earlier that in case you don't want, if you don't have a 3D printer and you have, you have a template for this, now you know what to change your template for as far as. So now you go down here. So this is 96% or 97% for your X, 100% for your Y. As we talked about earlier, just a minute ago, I only adjusted the size. So everything else is different. So when you go ahead and print out your template for your EVA foam, now you know how to size or scale your template. So that way you can go ahead and print those out and then cut everything up on your EVA foam to the appropriate size. So that's how we go about doing that. Also, parts for like the chest, where you have abdomen in there, everything, all this. Like the Hellbat suit came in multiple parts. So again, I dropped all the parts into Meshmixer. When I dropped them all into Meshmixer, they all went into the right spot. So then I was able to combine all those parts, export it, drop it in here, and then size everything accordingly against to my chest and everything else. Because as you see, I'm a little top heavy. All right, so best way to explain that. A little more top heavy than leggy. So that I was able to size everything appropriately, export all that into a size file, and then break everything up, and then send everything to my slicer, slice everything, because this whole thing was 3D printed. Going forward, definitely going to be leaning more towards EVA foam, because if you've 3D printed an armor, you'll know that it is very rigid. But I wanted to do my first full 3D printed armor. So, and that's it, guys. It is a little bit of tweaking. There's a little of, moving things back and forth. It can get a little bit tedious, but it definitely will help in the long run to have a better fit suit, better fit costume for you. In Armorsmith, there's also a unfold option. So like if you want to do for templates for your files, I haven't delved that much because I've been heavily on 3D printing, but I'll probably do another video later on about unfolding everything. So you can go ahead and unfold the file into a flat template. So that way you can cut those out and then you can use them for EVA foam or Epicure or cardboard, anything like that that doesn't involve 3D printing. Guys, I hope this video helped. If it has, please make sure you like. It means a lot to me. And hit that follow button and the notification bell next to it, because I'll be dropping new videos. And then when those videos drop, you'll be notified as soon as those come out. Until next time, guys, keep making it nerdy, and I'll see you next time.